Before we begin this incredible story, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss these amazing real-life stories. Now, let's dive into what happened on that. It's an unforgettable day in London. The morning sun painted the cobblestones of Buckingham Palace in golden light. Hundreds of tourists gathered along the gates, cameras ready, waiting for the famous changing of the guard ceremony. Among them stood Marcus Weber, a 32-year-old businessman from Chicago. He had traveled to London for a conference, but decided to spend his free morning experiencing British culture. Marcus wore expensive sunglasses and carried a designer bag. He seemed confident, perhaps too confident for someone visiting a royal landmark. The crowd grew thicker as the ceremony time approached. People pushed closer to the gates, eager to capture the perfect photograph. Marcus found himself squeezed between a family from Japan and a group of excited college students. He did not like being so close to strangers. Back home, Marcus was used to having space, used to getting his way. His business success had made him believe rules applied differently to him. The royal guards began their march. Their red uniforms blazed bright against the gray palace walls. Their tall bearskin hats added an impressive height to their already commanding presence. The guards moved with perfect precision, their boots striking the ground in unified rhythm. The crowd fell silent, mesmerized by the display of discipline and tradition. Even the children stopped talking, watching with wide eyes as the soldiers performed their centuries-old ceremony. Marcus raised his phone to record a video. But another tourist stepped in front of him, blocking his view completely. Frustration bubbled inside Marcus. He had not traveled thousands of miles to have his video ruined by inconsiderate people. He tried moving to the left, but more tourists blocked that angle too. He moved right, same problem. The crowd had become a wall of bodies, and Marcus felt his patience running thin. The guards continued their march, moving closer to where the tourists stood. Security barriers separated the ceremony area from the public, but the guards would pass very close to the crowd. Marcus saw his opportunity. If he could just get a bit closer, lean over the barrier slightly, he would have the perfect angle for his video. The shot would be incredible, something to impress his friends back home. What Marcus did not know was that royal guards take their duty extremely seriously. They protect the monarchy and follow strict protocols that have existed for generations. These soldiers trained for months, learning to maintain composure under any circumstance. They learned to ignore distractions, to focus solely on their mission. But they also learned to respond swiftly to any threat or interference. Marcus was about to discover this the hard way, in front of hundreds of witnesses and countless cameras. The guards approached the section where Marcus stood. Their faces remained expressionless, eyes fixed straight ahead. They marched as one unit, their movements so synchronized they seemed like a single organism. The sound of their boots echoed off the palace walls. Marcus leaned forward over the security barrier, his phone extended as far as his arm would reach. He wanted that close-up shot, that perfect video that would get thousands of views on social media. But Marcus leaned too far. He lost his balance for just a moment, stumbling slightly forward. His hand shot out instinctively to steady himself, and it landed directly on the shoulder of the lead guard. The contact lasted only a second, but it was enough. Marcus had touched a royal guard on duty. He had broken one of the most serious rules at any royal ceremony. The consequences would be immediate and unforgettable. The guard Marcus touched did not break stride. But something changed in the air. The other guards sensed the interference instantly. Years of training kicked in automatically. The lead guard continued forward, but two other guards smoothly altered their formation. They moved with purpose, their faces still showing no emotion. To them, Marcus was not a tourist making a mistake. He was a potential security threat who had breached protocol during an official ceremony. Marcus realized his error too late. He pulled his hand back and tried to step away, but the crowd behind him left no room to retreat. His heart began racing as he saw the guards turning their attention toward him. He wanted to apologize, to explain it was an accident, but fear froze his voice. The tourists around him sensed something dramatic was about to happen. Phones raised higher, everyone wanting to capture whatever would occur next. One guard stepped forward and spoke. a voice that cut through the morning air like a knife. The words were sharp, commanding, leaving no room for debate. Marcus was ordered to step back immediately and not interfere with the ceremony. But Marcus, perhaps from shock or his usual stubbornness, did not move fast enough. He stood there, mouth open, unable to process that he was being reprimanded in front of hundreds of people. The second guard moved closer. His presence was intimidating, his tall hat making him tower over Marcus. The guard repeated the command louder this time. Other tourists began backing away, creating a space around Marcus. He suddenly felt very alone, very exposed. His expensive clothes and confident attitude meant nothing here. He had disrespected a tradition older than his entire country. Not now he would face the consequences. Marcus finally tried to step back, but his movements were clumsy, panicked. His foot caught on the security barrier. Time seemed to slow down as Marcus felt himself falling. His arms windmilled, trying to grab onto something, anything. But there was nothing to hold. The crowd gasped as Marcus tumbled backward, landing hard on the cobblestones. His phone flew from his hand, skittering across the ground. His designer sunglasses cracked and fell from his face. Marcus lay on the cold cobblestones, stunned and humiliated. Pain shot through his back and elbow where he had hit the ground. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the embarrassment burning through his entire body. Hundreds of eyes stared down at him. Hundreds of phone cameras recorded his moment of complete humiliation. He could already imagine his face appearing on social media, becoming a viral video of tourist stupidity. The royal guards did not stop their ceremony. They continued their march as if nothing had happened, stepping around Marcus with precise movements. Their boots passed mere inches from his sprawled body, the rhythmic thuds of their footsteps seeming to mock his foolishness. One guard actually stepped over Marcus's extended leg, never breaking pace, never acknowledging him as anything more than an obstacle to navigate. The message was clear. The ceremony was more important than one disrespectful tourist. A security officer appeared quickly. Moving through the crowd with practiced ease, the officer stood over Marcus with an expression that mixed annoyance with barely concealed amusement. Marcus slowly sat up, his face burning red with shame. His shirt had torn slightly in the fall, and his hands were scraped and dirty. The officer asked if Marcus was injured, but the tone suggested hope that the answer was no. Medical attention would mean paperwork, delays, and more attention to an already embarrassing situation. Marcus shook his head, unable to speak. The officer helped him to his feet, but the grip was firm, almost rough. It was help, but also control. The message was unmistakable. Marcus was being removed from the area immediately. As the officer guided him away from the ceremony, Marcus heard whispers rippling through the crowd. People spoke in different languages, but the tone was universal. They were discussing what they had witnessed, probably criticizing his behavior, definitely recording and sharing the incident online. The walk away from the palace felt endless. Every step was a reminder of his mistake. Marcus could feel hundreds of eyes following him, could hear the clicks and beeps of phones taking photos and videos. His business confidence had evaporated completely. He felt like a child being escorted to the principal's office, except the whole world was watching. His hands trembled as he tried to brush dirt from his clothes. But the stains would not come out easily. The security officer led Marcus to a small office near the palace grounds. Inside, another official waited with a stern expression and a clipboard. They asked Marcus for his identification, passport, and hotel information. Each question felt like an accusation. They explained that interfering with royal guards was a serious offense. While they would not arrest him this time, his actions had been noted and documented. If he caused any more problems during his stay in London, the consequences would be much more severe. Marcus nodded repeatedly, agreeing to everything, just wanting the ordeal to end. The officials made him sign several forms acknowledging his behavior and accepting the warning. His hand shook as he signed his name, the pen leaving wobbly letters across the paper. After 30 minutes that felt like hours, they finally released him. But before letting him leave, one official showed Marcus his phone screen. The video was already online, already spreading, already making Marcus infamous. Marcus walked through the London streets in a daze. The excitement and confidence he had felt that morning were completely gone, replaced by a heavy shame that seemed to weigh down every step. His torn shirt drew curious glances from passers-by. His scraped hands throbbed with each movement. But worst of all was the knowledge that his humiliation was spreading across the internet at lightning speed. By now, thousands of people had probably watched him fall, watched the guard step over him, watched his complete disgrace. He found a quiet pub in order to drink, needing something to calm his shaking hands. The bartender gave him a sympathetic look, perhaps noticing the dirt on his clothes and the defeated slump of his shoulders. Marcus pulled out his phone, knowing he should not look but unable to stop himself. He searched for videos of the incident and his stomach dropped. There were already dozens of uploads from different angles. The view counts were climbing rapidly. Comments flooded beneath each video and very few were kind. People called him arrogant, disrespectful, and stupid. Some comments were funny, creating jokes about his fall and the guards marching past him. Others were angry, defending the royal tradition and criticizing American tourists for their entitled behavior. Marcus read comment after comment, each one cutting deeper into his pride. He had become exactly what he always mocked, a viral video subject, a cautionary tale, an internet meme waiting to happen. His phone buzzed with messages from friends back home. They had seen the videos too. Some messages were concerned, asking if he was okay. But others were less kind, laughing at his misfortune, sharing the videos with their own mocking comments. Marcus realized his professional reputation might suffer too. His business associates might see these videos. Potential clients might recognize him as the fool who pushed a royal guard. The consequences of his brief moment of entitlement were multiplying far beyond anything he had. Imagine Marcus spent the rest of that day hiding in his hotel room. He ordered room service instead of exploring the city as planned. Every time he thought about going outside, anxiety gripped his chest. What if someone recognized him? What if they confronted him, or worse, asked for a photo with the famous tourist who got walked over by guards? The humiliation felt too fresh, too raw. He needed time to process what had happened, to understand how one stupid decision had spiraled into such a disaster. That evening, Marcus made a difficult decision. He called his colleague who was hosting the business conference. He explained, with as much dignity as he could manage, that a personal emergency required him to return home immediately. The lie tasted bitter, but facing his colleagues after the incident felt impossible. How could he stand in a boardroom and command respect when thousands of people had watched guards literally walk over him? His authority, his image, everything he had built felt damaged beyond repair. Booking an earlier flight home cost Marcus extra money, but he did not care. He just wanted to escape London, to put distance between himself and the scene of his humiliation. As he packed his bags, he kept replaying the moment in his mind. If he had just been patient, if he had just accepted a slightly imperfect video angle, none of this would have happened. But his need to get the best shot, his refusal to accept any inconvenience, had led to consequences far worse than a mediocre video ever could have been. The flight home gave Marcus hours to think about everything that had happened. Sitting in his seat, he stared out at the clouds and felt a strange mix of emotions. The shame was still there, burning in his chest, making him cringe every time he remembered the moment of falling. But something else was beginning to emerge too. A small, uncomfortable realization that perhaps he had needed this wake-up call. Perhaps his attitude had been building toward some kind of reckoning for a long time. Marcus thought about his behavior over the past few years. His business success had come quickly, and with it came a sense of entitlement he had not recognized until now. He remembered times he had been short with service staff, patient with anyone who could not match his pace, dismissive of rules he found inconvenient. He had always justified these behaviors as confidence, as the attitude of someone who knew their worth. But lying on those cobblestones, being stepped over by guards who represented centuries of discipline and respect, Marcus had felt his true worth. In that moment, he had been nothing more than an obstacle, barely worth noticing. The plane landed in Chicago late at night. Marcus retrieved his luggage and took a taxi home, grateful for the darkness that hid his face from the driver. His apartment felt different somehow, smaller maybe, or just less impressive than he remembered. The expensive furniture and modern decorations that usually made him feel successful now seemed hollow. What did any of it matter if his character was so flawed that he could behave like he had in London? Over the next few days, Marcus tried to return to normal life. He went to his office, held meetings, made phone calls. His colleagues had seen the videos but were polite enough not to mention them directly. Still, Marcus caught the glances, heard the whispered conversations that stopped when he entered a room. The incident had followed him home, marking him in ways that would not fade quickly. His reputation had a stain now, and everyone could see it. But something unexpected began happening. As the initial shock and shame faded, Marcus found himself changing in small ways. He started saying thank you more often to people he usually ignored. The barista who made his morning coffee, the janitor who cleaned his office, the receptionist who greeted him each day. He began actually seeing these people as individuals, rather than just background elements of his successful life. He started waiting patiently in lines without complaint. He stopped pushing to get ahead of others, stopped demanding special treatment. His assistant noticed the change first. She mentioned one day that Marcus seemed different, calmer somehow, more considerate. The comment surprised Marcus because he had not consciously decided to change. It was happening naturally, as if being knocked down literally had knocked something loose inside him. He was reevaluating his priorities, questioning the person he had become in his rush to success. The viral video that had humiliated him was also teaching him something valuable. Though the lesson had come at a steep price, Marcus even did something he never thought he would do. He wrote a public apology on social media. In it, he acknowledged his disrespectful behavior at Buckingham Palace, admitted his arrogance, and thanked the royal guards for their professionalism. He explained that the incident had taught him an important lesson about humility and respect. The post was not an attempt to repair his image or gain sympathy. It was genuine, raw, honest. He expected more mockery, more criticism. But instead, many people responded with surprising kindness, sharing their own stories of mistakes and lessons learned. Months passed, and life gradually returned to a new kind of normal for Marcus. The videos still existed online, still occasionally resurfaced when someone shared classic viral moments. But Marcus had stopped letting it define him. Instead, he used it as a reminder, a personal symbol of an important turning point in his life. Whenever he felt his old arrogance creeping back, whenever he started feeling entitled or impatient, he remembered lying on those cobblestones, remembered guards stepping over him as if he were nothing. His business continued successfully. But Marcus approached it differently now. He treated employees with more respect, listened more carefully to their ideas and concerns. He discovered that kindness and humility did not make him weak in business. If anything, they made him stronger because people genuinely wanted to work with him now, rather than just tolerating his demanding nature. Clients noticed the change too. Meetings became more collaborative, less about Marcus dominating the conversation and more about finding solutions together. Marcus started traveling again, but with a completely different attitude. He visited tourist sites with patience and genuine curiosity, rather than just rushing through to check items off a list. He respected local customs and rules, understanding that every place had its own culture and traditions worthy of honor. When other tourists behaved rudely, Marcus felt a pang of recognition, seeing his old self in their entitled behavior. Sometimes he even politely suggested more respectful alternatives, sharing his own cautionary tale as a reason to be mindful. 1 year after the incident, Marcus made an unexpected decision. He planned another trip to London, specifically to return to Buckingham Palace. This time, he arrived early for the changing of the guard ceremony. He stood at the back of the crowd, phone in his pocket, not concerned about getting the perfect video. He simply watched the ceremony with appreciation, marveling at the precision and tradition on display. The guards marched past, and Marcus felt nothing but respect for their dedication and discipline. After the ceremony ended, Marcus approached one of the palace officials. He explained who he was, referencing the incident from the previous year. The official remembered immediately, a small smile crossing their face. Marcus asked if there was any way he could formally apologize to the guards he had disrespected. The official was surprised by the request. Most people tried to forget their embarrassing moments, not return to address them directly. But something in Marcus's sincere expression convinced the official to make some inquiries. Several days later, Marcus received an email. The Royal Guard unit agreed to a brief meeting. Marcus arrived at the designated location nervous, but determined. Two of the guards who had been present during the incident met with him, out of uniform now, looking surprisingly normal in regular clothes. Marcus apologized sincerely, explaining how the experience had changed him, how their professionalism in the face of his disrespect had taught him an unforgettable lesson about conduct and character. The guards accepted his apology with grace. One of them even shared that they deal with difficult tourists regularly, that maintaining composure despite interference is part of their training, but they appreciated Marcus taking the time to return and apologize. Not many people would do that. The conversation lasted only 15 minutes, but it lifted a weight from Marcus's shoulders that he had carried for a year. He finally felt like the incident was complete, that he had done what he could to make amends. Marcus left London that week feeling genuinely peaceful. The viral video would always exist, would always be part of his story. But it no longer defined him as a moment of shame. Instead, it had become the beginning of his growth, the catalyst for becoming a better person. He learned that sometimes getting knocked down, literally and figuratively, is exactly what someone needs to finally look up and see the world clearly. The royal guards who walked over him that day had actually helped him stand taller than he ever had before. It's just not in the way anyone would have expected.